...2021 was a year. Let's face it, an entire decade of events was jammed into 2020, so now this year was all about picking up the pieces. So we tried to gain a sense of normalcy this year, even though normal is still nowhere in sight. So we went back to the movies, and as I'm writing this, Spider-Man No Way Home is the film that is welcoming people back into theaters, being the first film to crack 1 billion worldwide post-pandemic. During my favorite films of 2020 list, I looked at the favorite films list for 2021 as a chore because, at the time, it was going to be a top 20 out of pure obligation. But this was actually a pretty damn great year for film. While granted, 90% of the films released this year were supposed to come out in 2020, I was surprised as to how much I enjoyed this year in film. In 2021, we finally saw a car go into space, James Bond fighting the coronavirus, an underwhelming Sopranos prequel, and Morbius finally getting a second trailer. I almost forgot that was a movie. People stayed at home and watched Warner Bros.' entire theatrical slate on HBO Max, or Halloween Kills on Peacock, or whatever family film Paramount needed to cut their losses on with Paramount Plus. The Snyder Cut was finally released and further drove the nail in the coffin of Joss Whedon's career. Be honest, did you watch The Nevers? No, you didn't. The Oscars were held in April instead of the usual February, in which that ceremony just felt wildly awkward. Isn't it funny Glenn Close is doing the butt? Poor Joaquin Phoenix, already reviled for winning for Joker, had to go up and give an absent Anthony Hopkins an Oscar over Chadwick Boseman immediately after the In Memoriam segment teed up Boseman for the Best Actor win. I don't blame Phoenix for awkwardly piecing out after giving Hopkins the Oscar. Speaking of the Oscars, Marvel Studios had their first critical failure with Eternals from 2021's Best Director winner Chloe Zhao, and oddly enough, it's the most fascinating MCU film. 2021 also saw a recurring bit of this channel come to life on Netflix.
Move this man!
But Netflix also put out the universally praised Bo Burnham Inside, which gave me a new recurring bit. Lastly, we have to say goodbye to some greats. The legendary filmmaker Richard Donner passed away at the age of 90. If it weren't for him, the superhero movie and the action film as we know it wouldn't exist. DMX, the rapper I listened to the most in high school and appeared in a couple guilty pleasure films of mine, passed away at 50. Cloris Leachman made us laugh, Ed Asner made us cry, Ned Beatty was quite the character, Charles Grodin wasn't a dog person, and Michael K. Williams made a criminal sympathetic. Norm Macdonald had a great sense of humor till the end, while Christopher Plummer kept a quiet dignity in every role he did. I also want to take the time to salute Hanya Hutchins, who tragically died in a misfired gun accident while filming Rust. Just as I was getting ready to record voiceover for this, Death had to be a fucking asshole on New Year's Eve, as the legendary new and awesome Betty White passed away 17 days shy of her 100th birthday. But there is one death that hits close to home. On December 22nd, 2021, my Grandpa Ron passed away peacefully at the age of 90. I could list off more dead celebrities that made an impact to me, but my grandpa was the reason I picked up a saxophone. He was the reason I loved movies. He would talk to my mom about a TV show he loved for hours. He also played a huge role in my love of film, as my grandparents would always take us to see movies. He meant a lot to me. Before I begin, I just want to take the time to acknowledge A Story Worth Living, a film made by Vanessa Leonard, one of my models and closest friends. This is a truly wonderful film made in Toledo, Ohio that should have a studio like A24 or Neon pick it up. The reason it is not on my list is because it was not made for a wide theatrical release, and I am in it as Guy in Black Shirt who randomly appears in all of Allie's major events. While we're on the topic of special shoutouts, I want to shout out 2 films that released in 2020 that didn't get the love they deserved. These are 2 films that definitely would have been on my favorite films list in 2020. Spontaneous is the feature film directorial debut of Brian Duffield, who wrote The Babysitter and is slowly becoming one of my favorite writers, as he tells a suspenseful, hilarious, and genuinely sweet story about teens who spontaneously combust. Give this man an MCU movie, because this man masters tonal balance like no other. It's a film that perfectly captured what the pandemic was like in 2020, and it was made pre-pandemic. It's on Hulu right now. I'd also like to shout out The Empty Man, a film that is one of the best horror movies I've seen in recent memory. It's a genuinely adult horror movie that takes its time with its story and suspense. I want to see what David Pryor does next, because I love the hell out of this movie. Here are my rules. In addition to making my 2021 rule permanent, because time is now a construct, until I live in New York or LA and or get screeners, anything released wide theatrically or on streaming after January 1st is counted towards 2022. So no Tragedy of Macbeth, no Cyrano until 2022. Normally I don't do honorable mentions for top 20s, but 2021 had a lot of films and some of them were really great, and I want to take the time to shout them out. These are films that didn't quite make the cut, but I still enjoyed. Val, Army of the Dead, Billie Eilish, The World's a Little Blurry, In the Heights. In the almost made my list category, Nobody, Titan, and my honorary 21 is The Matrix Resurrections. So ready the Armada, we will use the old ways. These are my top 20 favorite films of 2021. Number 20.
Excuse you, hating the I'm a really good lawyer line means you hate blind people and fun.
No, it means it's a really bad joke in an otherwise good movie. Jesus Christ, MCU stands are sore winners. Welp. I'm pissing off Martin Scorsese and Ridley Scott right now. I went into this with low expectations, and it ended up being the first MCU film to crack my favorite films list proper since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Spider-Man No Way Home gave me the MCU Spider-Man film I've always wanted. Not only that, when I saw this theatrically, I felt a sense of normalcy, a communal experience of people enjoying a movie. This film is a love letter to both Sam Raimi and Mark Webb, while telling a very compelling Spider-Man story that masterfully balanced nostalgia and pathos. Dare I say it? Better than Ghostbusters Afterlife. Tom Holland gives an absolutely great performance as Peter Parker, and it did something I didn't expect. It's been a month, so I don't feel guilty about spoilers. It made me want an Amazing Spider-Man 3, as Andrew Garfield gave a genuinely great performance in this film. Here's to hoping that the MCU gets back into my good graces. Number 19. I was sad yet happy that I went to an empty screening of this film, because this is one of the most underrated films of 2021. The Night House is a taut psychological thriller that should have had more eyeballs and marketing behind it. Rebecca Hall gives one of the best performances of the year as a grieving widow who finds out her husband hid dark secrets from her. This is a film that felt like a psychological thriller that would have come out in the 90s that I would absolutely love. When each puzzle piece fit in this film, I was totally invested. Director David Bruckner did a fantastic job building the tension and suspense of this film in a gripping and well-paced story. Seek this one out. Number 18.
This is only big enough for the both of us.
I had never heard of Sparks prior to this film. I became a huge fan of Sparks after this film. Edgar Wright gives us a comprehensive history of a band that practically influenced modern music. Watching this documentary was like listening to the Beatles for the first time. Russell and Ron Mael are genuinely charismatic dudes who set out to make music their own way, including releasing their rock opera Annette in 2021. Wright also brings a lot of style to this documentary by shooting the Talking Heads segments in black and white and masterfully creating transitions to each segment. Sure enough, Sparks are going to get to sing My Way after this year. Number 17. If it weren't for Ansel Elgort phoning it in when he really shouldn't have been, this easily would have been in my top 5. West Side Story 2021 had an impossible feat ahead of it. How do you improve upon a film that is deemed a classic? You make it your own. When you have Spielberg behind it, it's going to be epic. Someone on Twitter said one of the best action sequences of the year was the cool segment. I countered that tweet with the opening scene, in which there is less ballet influence and more WWE influence. Rachel Ziegler is downright iconic as Maria, yet it's a star-making performance that eerily parallels any version of A Star is Born. Janusz Kaminski's cinematography creates a raw and brutal atmosphere for the Jets and the Sharks. The fact that the 1961 version and the 2021 version of these films are in a stalemate with each other is a testament to Spielberg's craft. I actually love both of these films equally. Oh, and one more thing. West Side Story has been woke since 1957. Grow the fuck up. Number 16. Judas and the Black Messiah falls into the great movies I will probably never watch again category. It's that powerful of a film. This film is a captivating look into the life and tragic death of Fred Hampton. This is a film that feels like a documentary that would have come out in the 60s, where it's less about talking heads and more about getting a message out. Daniel Kaluuya gives a revelatory performance well deserving of his Oscar win. It's also a film that makes you feel for Bill O'Neill as well, as he is forced to rat out Fred Hampton. This film has genuine stakes to it, and I was riveted in each scene. Shaka King did a truly fantastic job in crafting this story. It is a film that truly sticks with you, especially after reading Bill O'Neill's epilogue at the end of the film. Number 15. Candyman 2021 is one of the most jaw-droppingly good horror sequels of recent memory. This was what I wanted Halloween Kills to be. Most horror sequels are hit and miss. Most of the time you get a Jason X, but it's rare we get a Halloween 3. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II picks up where Virginia Madsen left off and delivers an outstanding performance as Tony McCoy. Nia DaCosta brings everything full circle from the 1992 film, even going so far as to keep the topics of the 1992 film the same. Honestly, this is the only instance where I felt keeping the title the same works. Hell, I'm actually looking forward to the Marvels after watching Candyman 2021. Number 14.
What did you say?
I said, suck my fucking dick.
Suck your own dick.
What makes a Jason Statham action hero tick? That is the question asked by Guy Ritchie in this film. If you go into this expecting a non-stop shoot 'em up,
You're gonna have a bad time.
However, if you go into this wanting a compelling revenge story, all while deconstructing a character like Chev Chilios, it is truly one of the best films of the year. Guy Ritchie continues his Aladdin fuck you money reign with Rap a Man. This is a film that is so good you are invested in the lives of minor characters. Jason Statham does career best work in this film as H, who as the story unfolds you see why he is the way he is. I'm also excited that there is another Guy Ritchie movie coming out in 2022. Number 13. Don't you remember when we used to sing sha la 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 dee da? Kenneth Branagh tells a compelling story of life in Belfast at the height of the Troubles. This film just makes you feel happy. It is a pure shot of joy. It is a film that is funny, dramatic, and sometimes intense as hell. This is an Oscar bait film that feels genuinely sincere in the story it wants to tell. Honestly, Come On should be getting Think Peace to death, as that was a passable tone poem at best, and a story worth living dealt with the subject of mental illness better. This film perfectly illustrates the importance of Van Morrison's music, throwing in some deep cuts as well as hits. I threw on my Moondance vinyl the second I got home from the theater. I wonder what Van Morrison has been up to lately.
No more lockdown, no more government overreach, no more fascist police.
Twinkle Twinkle Little Star has more subtlety than this crap. But if this wins Best Picture, I honestly would not be upset. I genuinely loved this movie. Number 12.
There's just no time to die.
None of the Bonds really stuck the landing in their final outing. Lazenby technically did, but it was his first and last Bond movie, so it really doesn't count. However, Daniel Craig completely and totally stuck the landing with No Time to Die. If this came out in 2020 as planned, this would easily be in my top 5 that year. No Time to Die is a film that manages to balance fan service and nostalgia, while also taking bold risks that absolutely pay off. I also love the fact that this film tips its hat to Honor Majesty's Secret Service. But it's not just a great Bond story, it also has some of the best Bond characters in recent memory. Safin is a cold and calculating villain. Naomi is a cool as hell agent worthy of 007. And my god, Paloma rules so hard. Give Ana de Armas a spin-off. This is one of those films that I sat through the credits for and pondered what I watched. Kuri Joji Fukunaga did such a fantastic job with this film, and I'd love to see where his career goes after this. Number 11. This was a film that was this close to being in my top 10. Pig is a raw and honest reflection of a man who goes to great extremes to get his beloved truffle pig back. Not only that, this is Nicolas Cage proving that he is more than a meme. He is one of the most compelling actors of our time when given a terrific script. It would be a crime if he gets snubbed for the Best Actor Oscar. If this script stumbled upon a major studio, this would have been studio noted to death to turn this into John Wick but with a chef. I'm glad this film didn't take that route. Pig is a film that takes you on a journey you didn't know you wanted to go on. Between fight clubs, a visceral roast session with a chef, and its ending, Pig had me on the edge of my seat without even one bullet fired. It's a truly revelatory Nicolas Cage performance that is easily one of his best serious roles since Moonstruck. Number 10.
Not just another birthday, it's 3091.
You neoliberal fascists!
Gal Gadot just ate pizza for lunch.
This isn't over yet.
Man, you guys sure showed Lin-Manuel Miranda who's boss. because he had the best year of his career. So, Andrew Garfield is slowly becoming one of my favorite actors because he is already on this list twice. Lin-Manuel Miranda is a phenomenal movie director straight out of the gate. The man can truly do it all. Tick, Tick, Boom is a film I wholeheartedly relate to. I too work in the food industry and feel as if I'm still waiting on my big break. It's one of those musicals where everything about it works. I would have never guessed Andrew Garfield never played piano or sang before this film, because he is absolutely fantastic at both. I hope he gets nominated for and wins the Best Actor Oscar. This man embodies Jonathan Larson. I also gotta shout out the musicians in this film. I hope they got paid a fuck ton of money, because the musicianship in this film is extremely tight. Like Andrew Garfield has been jamming with these guys for years. Not since The Greatest Showman has there been such a truly great and fun movie musical where every song is really good and I was genuinely invested. What kept In the Heights as an honorable mention was some clear use of auto-tune from Corey Hawkins. You know what? Just give Lin-Manuel Miranda every prestige movie musical. You heard me, Twitter. Number 9.
We need backup! Send the National fucking Guard!
I just fired this up on HBO Max without a second thought. Go figure, the house that Freddy built gave us a new iconic slasher villain. Malignant is one of the most awesome horror movie entries to come out in recent memory. It's also James Wan's best film to date. A love letter to the horror movie section of a video store. Malignant is campy, intense, brutal, and just a total fucking blast from start to finish. James Wan's camera work in this film is absolutely insane, and Annabelle Wallis delivers an absolutely fantastic performance as Madison, who is thrust into a series of brutal murders. I also love the fact that there are no A-listers attached to this film. I seriously loved Malignant. I would actually love to see a sequel to this film. You know what? James Wan, keep making those fuck you I made Aquaman horror movies. I want to see more of these. Number 8. Let's try this again.
미나리.
Minari.
미나리.
Minari. Minari should have won Best Picture. Full stop. I'm sorry, Frances McDormand slumming it while married to one of the Coen brothers wasn't a good movie. Minari is a genuinely bittersweet film about Korean immigrants trying to live the American dream. This film is warm, funny, and heartbreaking. Stephen Ewan delivers an absolutely terrific performance as the patriarch of this family who wants to start a farm yet is on bad land. Yeon Jung-yoon totally deserved her Best Actress Oscar as a foul-mouthed, pro-wrestling-loving grandmother who was genuinely sweet. It's one of the most sincere and American films ever made. Ahem, Armand White. Number 7. The fact that this film bombed proves that we can have nice things. The Last Duel is a mixture of Arthurian legend, The Wolf of Wall Street, and a courtroom drama which tells one story in 3 different ways. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon return to screenwriting, along with Nicole Hofstetter, to give us a Rashomon-style story of Jean de Carouge's duel with Jacques Legris, which eerily mirrors power shifts of today. Ridley Scott delivers one of his most crowd-pleasing films since The Martian. Well, about as crowd-pleasing as a film centered on rape can be, and Ben Affleck is pure energy. I went in nearly blind to this film and absolutely loved it. The Last Duel is a truly great film that deserves Oscar consideration, especially for Jodie Comer's fantastic performance as Marguerite, and Adam Driver's performance as Jacques Degree. You are invested in all three of these stories, and you really want Marguerite to be alive by the end of the film. Number 6. One of the biggest surprises of the year, Censor is a lean and mean film set against the backdrop of the video nasties era. A love letter to exploitation films, Censor is raw and visceral. Let's try this again as well.
Nea-Valgar.
Wait, there's a fucking V in here?
Nea-Valgar.
Nea-Valgar. Nea-Valgar. Nea-Valgar is terrific as a censor who may or may not have seen her sister in an exploitation film. As this film progresses, you are totally invested in Enid's story. Prano Bailey Bond also perfectly captures the aesthetics of a VHS tape, and as this film progresses, it ingeniously shrinks its aspect ratio, putting you inside the mind of Enid. I'm pretty sure everyone has 84 minutes to check out this really fucking awesome movie. I really love the hell out of Censor. You will too. Number 5. Spencer was the film I didn't know I needed this year. A film that combines two of my favorite things, the movie JFK and A24 horror movies. Spencer is a haunting look into the dark side of royalty. I also love how this film totally leans into the Queen had her killed conspiracy theory. Kristen Stewart gives my second favorite performance of the year, right behind Rachel Ziegler in West Side Story, as she perfectly captures everything that made Princess Diana iconic, all while telling a warts-and-all story of her life in the course of 3 days. Pablo Larraín does a fantastic job in making the life of a princess look bleak. It doesn't shy away from the darker facets of Princess Diana's life, such as her bulimia and the fact that her life is completely regimented with little to no independence, on top of the fact that this was the weekend that she decided to divorce Prince Charles. Spencer is truly a fantastic film, and you should seek it out right now. Number 4. Cop Shop was a film that got little to no buzz. It was a film I saw advertised on Facebook, and, well, the last time I saw a film theatrically because of Facebook was John Wick, and much like John Wick, I fucking love this movie. Cop Shop is an homage to 70s action films like Dirty Harry, The 7-Ups, with a little of John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13 thrown in for good measure. Gerard Butler and Frank Grillo give career best performances as two people who want each other dead. Toby Huss gives the best villain performance of the year as a balloon-wielding assassin, while I also want Alexis Louder to get all the action film parts. It's a dirty and dark old-school action flick made by Joe Carnahan, a man who was a master of them. If you know someone who says they don't make movies like they used to anymore, show them Cop Shop. I'd love to see more Cop Shops in theaters. Please support this movie. Number 3. Spider-Man No Way Home was good. Zack Snyder's Justice League and The Suicide Squad are great. Both of these films are auteur-driven comic book movies made with passion. Both of these films represent creative freedom. One is a sprawling and ambitious Grecian epic of hope in a dark time. The other is a love letter to Gunn's former employer Troma Films, kaiju films, and Vietnam War movies. Both of these films have their respective filmmakers' personal stamp on them. James Gunn even pays tribute to Watchmen with Rick Flagg's death.
What a joke.
These are two films that say fuck the MCU with their whole chest. Zack Snyder set out to make a 4-hour-long film that didn't feel 4 hours long. James Gunn explicitly stated that the Suicide Squad was made as a fuck you to Kevin Feige. But there is an exact reason that I have these two tied at number 3. I am getting sick and tired of seeing these two god-tier films being pitted against each other. I said I was going to do a 3-part video series where I was going to admit that I was wrong about Zack Snyder. Guess what? This segment is that video series. Having watched all of his filmography for this video series I planned, which I purposely planned to make 3 parts to counteract the biased, hate-filled reviews of the movie Bob and Maggie Mayfish, I can acknowledge Zack Snyder is a true American auteur who set out to make films his way. I went from hating Man of Steel to appreciating it. But after seeing Richard Newby, a film critic for The Hollywood Reporter who regularly praised Zack Snyder, get attacked solely for daring to say he liked the Suicide Squad a teensy bit better than Zack Snyder's Justice League, I was fucking done. Zack Snyder is not a filmmaker worth sending death threats, racial slurs, or this hilariously bad threat I read on Twitter.
Cringe. There's no other word for it. This makes me cringe. It's embarrassing.
If you really are a fan of Zack Snyder, you should listen to what he says.
And I also want to just say, in light of recent events, I think we really, if Justice League teaches us anything, it's about coming together, and there's no room for hate. And I just think that it's important. It's an important message. And of course, as the father of the Asian children, it really hits close to home for me. And I just really want to put that out there that we all, there's no room for hate, and that's just what it's about.
If you want the fucking Snyderverse restored, maybe don't go after the guy who wrote Dawn of the Dead, who had David Ayer's full fucking support. Oh, by the way, Mike Cernovich, the guy who dug up James Gunn's tweets, thinks rape is okay and is a hardcore white supremacist. It fucking sucks to see this flop squad bullshit when these two filmmakers clearly love and respect each other. Here's James Gunn on Twitter not only confirming his friendship with Zack Snyder, but asking Snyder for a recommendation for a stunt coordinator for Peacemaker. This should have been the tweet that said, holy shit, James Gunn is on our side, and Snyder stans are still attacking him! Let me reiterate my point from my original Suicide Squad review.
I really am a big fan of Zack's Man of Steel, and Zack and I have been friends for a long time.
But, James is a great filmmaker. I worked with him on Dawn of the Dead. He wrote the script, and so very excited to see what he does with those nutty characters, with those nutty Suicide Squad cats.
And no, I'm not getting paid by Warner Brothers to say this, or else I call The Little Things, Space Jam: A New Legacy, Reminiscence, King Richard, and Tom and Jerry 5-star films. Hell, I try to write a review for Reminiscence. In fact, going forward, a comic book movie must be a 5-star film for it to qualify for my favorite films list. 4.5 for an honorable mention, and I grade comic book movies on a curve. I'm done with toxic fandom on both sides. I'm calling it the Snyder Gunn rule. You can like both filmmakers. Number 2.
Am I going crazy? Would I even know? Am I right back where I started 14 years ago?
It counts. It got a one-night-only nationwide theatrical release. If the MPAA-rated Hamilton can win an Emmy, then I can include Inside on my favorite films list. At this point, Bo Burnham Inside is practically a free space on a bingo card if you are doing a Best of 2021 list on anything. And for good reason. It is a genuinely ambitious stand-up special in terms of both comedy and filmmaking. I wouldn't be surprised if Inside got a Criterion Collection release. I've seen the criticism of Inside being, fuck you, you got paid millions to do this special. That doesn't mean filming a stand-up special is stressful, much less by yourself during a fucking pandemic. The man suffered numerous panic attacks, but channeled his stress in such a way that it became performance art. Inside is a lot of things. A making-of documentary, a series of comedic vignettes, and at the center of it, a disheveled man bearing his soul in the same house that was used to film A Nightmare on Elm Street, which he and his girlfriend, Hustlers director Lorraine Scafaria, lived in until it was recently put up for sale. Filming this in the Nightmare on Elm Street house adds an extra layer to this special, as the pandemic has taken a toll on all of us. Not since Eddie Murphy Raw on the original Kings of Comedy has there been a stand-up special that perfectly captured the zeitgeist of American culture. The music. My God, the music. Between both Bezos 1 and 2, which sound exactly like propagandic national anthems in third world countries, content, which became a recurring bit because I hate that everything is now content. Also, That Funny Feeling and Goodbye are also genuinely great songs that just happen to be comedic. As a musician, Burnham improved tenfold. As a filmmaker, he is astounding. Inside is just pure brilliance in every way. And my number one favorite film of 2021 is...
Deregulate tapioca.
In May, I came down with COVID. The week before, I threw a dart at a random movie on Netflix, which would officially become the only 5-star film of 2021. When I came down with COVID, I watched The Mitchells vs. the Machines again, and it hit me as to why I love this film. It is a film that comes from a very real place, especially given the film is loosely based on co-director Michael Rianda's real life. Yes, it's an animated film, but we all want to forge our own identities and have our own ambitions. But it also helps that this film has some of the most adventurous animation I've seen. Sony Pictures Animation went from punchline to punk rock since Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Each shot is purely cinematic. The giant Furby reveal cracked my shit up for 5 minutes. Dare I say it, this film has some of the best action scenes of the year. Also, Sony Pictures didn't have to go this hard on the Blu-ray packaging for this film, especially since they sold the film to Netflix. But they did, including a sneak disc of the Criterion Collection and a Criterion Collection-style essay from Katie Mitchell herself. It's now officially canon that Katie Mitchell showed her family Titan on Family Movie Night. That's the punk rock aesthetic that is pushing Sony Pictures Animation to the forefront. The fact I devoted a whole paragraph to the packaging and marketing of this film proves how ingenious this film truly is. Yet nobody talks about it. It is a film that is genuinely hilarious while serving as a love letter to filmmaking. Katie Mitchell was me filming my brother's band on a 5-megapixel digital camera with no mic attached. As much as I hate when technology and meme culture is tied to a plot, it is a film that truly feels timeless, as at the core of this film is a father trying to bond with his lesbian filmmaker daughter. The Mitchells vs. the Machines is a film that has as big of a heart as the family dog Manchi does. This is a film I found myself recommending to other people. I told Kayla Elizabeth, who plays Twitter Tara on my channel, to check this out, as Katie Mitchell totally reminded me of her, and the fact that her brother is obsessed with dinosaurs like Kayla is in real life. I could have made the obvious choice and made Inside my number one. But The Mitchells vs. the Machines is the anti-Space Jam: A New Legacy. This isn't just good for an animated movie, it is a good movie, period. It also speaks volumes that this is the second animated film in a row to crack my number one spot. Because of The Mitchells vs. the Machines, I want to write a semi-autobiographical short film about an event in my life. I don't know if it will get made. I don't even know if I'll finish it. I just want to try and accomplish something. But in 2022, I want to get back to being the filmmaker I aspired to be, because it's what my grandma and grandpa would have wanted. They've always supported me in that endeavor. I miss you both.